Sunderland Football Club, if you like, their results is very much like the weather. If we get beat, it's like a very wet, windy, horrible day. Everyone's face is down. You come the summer, it's nice and bright. Everyone's, you know, we win. Everyone's got the same sort of attitude. It lifts people's spirits.
It can take over your life. I mean, the worst thing about it is going back to work or back to school the next day and having to cope with what everybody else is saying.
It is hard, it is hard. That's when our lass hates it. There's no talking, you know, she knows to leave us a be for a few hours, but I wasn't going crying. I've been through it that many times with Sunderland. That's the beauty with Sunderland, you never know how you stand, you know.
By now it was March. Sunderland had played 29 games and had only 10 more to go. Their league position had begun to slip, but the win over Manchester United had boosted their confidence and pushed them back up to 15th place in the league. Time and time again, games slipped through the fingers, and if Peter was going to sign a new striker, there were only 2 weeks to go until the transfer deadline. Time was running out.
We can say we want everything, or supporters can. I can say it as well, but at the end of the day, it's them that's got to put the money in and answer for it, you know. Peter Reid's got to bring the right ones in, you know, and he's got to get the money to do it. And what goes behind there, we never find out, like. We just hope at the end of the day it comes off right, which I'm pretty sure it will, like.
Well, how much are you talking about? Sorry? Fucking hell, he's down to 2 million over there now, don't he? No, I wouldn't be doing anything before the deadline on that. Nah. All right. Thanks.
Where was that? Can I ask?
That's just an agent. About a Scandinavian place.
Starting at 2 million?
Well, I asked the price and he said 2 million, so... It's everywhere you go now. Hello? People ask me the questions about the transfer market. People are saying to me, well, why haven't you done that? Because there's no one value for money who I think will improve us at this moment in time. And that's something that people might say to me I failed on, but I don't. Because I'll only go for who I fancy. And as frustrating as it can be, trying to bring new players in, I might get a phone call this afternoon and you're on the way with it. Who's the president there at Wren?
This was a frustrating time for the supporters. The new stadium had raised their expectations. They now wanted to be like neighbours Middlesbrough and be entertained by international stars like Ravanelli. He cost £7 million and earned around 42,000 a week, but at least he scored 31 goals. After all, new starts are what the club had promised when they doubled the price of a season ticket.
Yondal Thomason, young lad, good potential. Been looking at him for a while. They've come up with a fee of around 8 million guilders, which translates into something like 2.7 million quid. And at that price, Pete's view is that it's worth a stab if we can tie him up. But with anybody, I mean, he's a Danish lad playing in Holland at the moment. You know, he's got to feel he can settle in the northeast. So a chunk of today is purely sit down, see whether he feels he can settle, whether he's attracted to the club, like, you know, we'll show him around the stadium, let him see how they train in as low-key way as possible, as we just said, and then take it from there.
I think he's suggested already to his agent is that he's a very young man and he's prepared to wait for his big clubs, and it might not be right for him to be joining one of the big clubs, because there has been a suggestion that he would be joining at the end of the season one of the big clubs, especially the one in Holland where they've lost their star centre forward Kluivert. If it's positive, we'd probably try and do it before deadline.
He's a proven goal scorer, isn't he?
He's a proven goal scorer.
Yes, Darius. Push your chest.
Can I tell you who it is? You can stand there, you're fronting, but we're not going to tell you who it is.
So do you reckon that's what it is? You reckon it is somebody...
It's a new player, aye. It's a new player.
But he wouldn't tell us where it was.
Well, excited, man. We didn't see many signings here.
we didn't say any. We said him coming in and going back again. He got good enough. The internationals are not good enough. I don't want him to tell anymore. He's died.
It's Klinsmann in disguise.
It was an interesting few hours. We, for the right player, would pay top Premier League wages. You know, you hear about what some of the lads are earning, and we wouldn't have a problem for the right player for that sort of money. But the figures that Jan was looking for with his agent were going to work out somewhere in the region of 40,000 quid a week, right? Which is, in our view, too far in that for that sort of player, young lad, 19.
6-2. That hurt.
You can't describe how dejected you feel. You really... It's awful. Because you know you can't get anything from that match, and yet you've still got to stand there and watch it. And that's the first match I've ever walked out before the final whistle. I think his tactics this season have left a lot to be desired. And he's playing players which on the pitch would I think wouldn't even play on a Sunday league personally. And I think a lot of people are wondering, what he's thinking.
I've been in it since I was 15. I've been a player. I've had stick as a player and things like that. And whether it's wrong to say that criticism doesn't hurt because you wouldn't be human. But I think you get that layer of thickness or something that Alex Ferguson started the season before this. He got beat at Aston Villa. There was murders on. He'd sold ints, he'd sold dues, there was murders on. They won a double. But it was that's football. That's football. And you just got to be single-minded and do what you think's right. It's down to you at the end of the day.
He's a tremendous guy. He's a motivator. You feel as though you would do a double day's work in one for him. But football's fickle in a way. I suppose some of them might turn against him, but I would never like to think they would, to be honest. The same as when Stokoe came, he was a messiah, and then things didn't go right in the league, and he packed in through it. But I wouldn't like to think the crowd turned against him, because what he's done for us, he's putting us back where we belong at the top. There's been maybe one or two mistakes made. We all make mistakes, everybody does. But I would hate to think the crowd got against Peter Reid,
With only a week to go before the transfer deadline, the city of Sunderland woke to the news that Peter had signed a big-name player. However, with no disrespect to Chris Waddle, he wasn't the kind of name the fans were expecting.
Very simple.
He was a local boy and an ex-international, but at 36 he was more of a glowing ember than a burning star. Anyway, he cost £75,000 and was only signed for the remaining 7 games of the season.
OK, that's it.
We just needed someone who could hold the ball in the final third. I thought we work hard, get the ball back, but in certain games I just thought we were giving it away cheaply in the final third. And Chris Waddle's got that ability to keep the ball. So that was... But mind you, I've tried about... this week alone I've been busy trying to get people in, and Chris is the only one who could get in.
You kind of plan a debut?
No.
Tottenham, I scored 2 on my debut. Yeah. Sheffield, I got stretchered off. So you kind of plan a debut,
Right.
Good lad. All the best.
All right, all the best.
It was a great opportunity to come back into the Premier League, and unfortunately they're at the wrong end of the table at the minute. And if it'd be a good achievement to be part of the team what stays up, and because of the new stadium and the way the club's progressing, it's very important that they stay in the Premier League. I think the squad and the players we've got are definitely capable of doing that, no doubt about that. And that's why it'd be nice to be part of it.
Is he any good?
Well, we got beat 6-2, so he's got to earn his place to get in.
Not only that, we don't know how good he is either.
Chris,
what's his name?
What's his name?
Chris
Have you
what?
seen him play?
It's been rumoured for months and months and months that we're going to buy him. You know what I mean? So
we made a world-class player.
Yeah.
it's crucial for us, going into the last few months of the season and in the position we're in.
A new face gives everybody a lift anyway.
We've even had supporters up the training ground this week.
Yeah. You thought they were there for you, didn't you?
Yeah. Used to be Cope Mania up there.
Fight to win! Fight to win! Bravo! Get like from fucking Monaco! Oh, get out!
Oh, I can see that's Waddle. It's just kicked the ball.
That's Waddle. He's just a panic buy, isn't he? They leave the last minute of the season when they're struggling before they buy anyone. And all of a sudden we'll get indulgence in the transfer market, get speculation, every man his dogs come to Sunderland. If Murray's got this 10 million, Freed's got it at hand, why isn't he delved into the transfer market?
It's always been the same.
Everyone's waiting for the big
You
signing.
know, year after year after year, you know, what always seem to be struggling to stay in. Or...
Did you think it would be different this time?
Talking to him, like.
Well, I did think we might have done a little bit better than we have done, but unfortunately we haven't. But, as they say, be positive, think positive, look on the bright side of life.
I think bringing Chris Waddle here is a tremendous move for us. He'll boost the crowd, they'll get behind them, and, you know, once the crowd gets behind them, it's as good as a goal, like. And possibly one or two more here might be coming, so let's hope they do. And give a bit firepower in, you know. But the pitch is looking canny, and if we get it good for Saturday, and we'll let Chris have a nice firm run up the wing here, and he might put a few balls over, we'll get a few headers in or something, or he might score himself.
All Sunderland needed was one win to kick them back up the table. This was their chance. A home game to Nottingham Forest, who were then second from bottom in the league. The problem is, when you go and see a football match, you've no idea what kind of game you're going to get, especially with a team as unpredictable as Sunderland.
This is the important part of the season in respect of this is a time when teams obviously, you know, going to be fighting to win the championship, get into Europe, or battle to avoid relegation. Early on in the season, everybody's expectations are still quite high because the possibility of doing anything's still there. But as the games start to dwindle, the league's table's taking shape, so people tend to see which team's going where.
Clean sheet and we win it. Come on, boys. Give it tight. Straight into the first minute trips. All right, let's get started quick. Let them know what they're going to get.
I think these last 2 months are more important than the other 6 or 7 that have gone, because it's now that our fate's sorted out, really. I mean, we never looked in trouble around Christmas and after, but now, you know, slowly, we haven't quite got the results.
Sure of getting here. Fucking ball he gives it. Hiya, Bob. Just don't let Waddle do Daddy's job. Oh, he's a nightmare, isn't he? Tell him. Cheers. Tell her there's no chance of winning this.
It was exactly 2 years ago that Peter arrived at Roker Park to save Sunderland from relegation. The way this game was going, it looked like he would have to save them once again, but this time in a much tougher league.
Give it to Wadley and get in the box. Give it to Wadley and get in the box. Give it to Wadley! Relax, keep it. Race! Relax! Pass! Relax! Pass the ball! Get the ball and pass it! Fuck! Hey! Come on! Hey! Fuck! Hey! Hey! Ball here! Come, please! Come on! Fucking come on!
1-1. They'd been only 3 minutes away from victory and 3 vital points. Yet again, over 20,000 people had paid up to £20 to be put through hell. Everyone held their breath and waited to hear the other results.
Down at the bottom, there is a new inhabitant in those bottom 3, and that's Coventry City. They don't want to be there, but they are. They join Nottingham Forest now and Southampton in the bottom 3. Sunderland at 16 is looking much brighter now for Harry Redknapp's West Ham. They're on 33 points. And Derby County, well, Jim Smith can...
There wasn't a lot of chances in the game. I thought the chances that were created, we had the best ones. I thought we were just going to win it, just going to hang on. But all credit to Notts Forest. They battled away and they've come out with a point.
What about Chris?
I think Chris Waddle handles the football. I think anyone who can do that, you want him on the pitch.
You've always remained confident that you would stay up, Peter. Does that still apply?
I think we'll stay up here. We've got a couple of really difficult games coming up, but I think a lot of people wrote us off when we were going to play Man United, you know, so the players really enjoy them sorts of games, so we're really looking forward to them.
We're 5th bottom, are we? Well, we've got to pick ourselves up and, you know, let's hope he gets a goal scorer in and, you know, and we'll fight right at the bit end. We've got to, like. But I'm very low at the minute.
What will you be doing tonight?
Oh, I'll be having a few drinks and that's it. That's, I don't know. It's a shame we couldn't have lasted out for, you know, what, 3 or 4 minutes? If we're 5th or bottom, it's better than I thought would have been, to be honest. Did Middlesbrough win? Well, they must have went above us, haven't they?
Very close.
Very close. Oh. We've just got to go to Newcastle and beat them, and then beat the Borough. That's it, in a nutshell. I can't say any more, lads. That's it. I'm too, you know.
See you Monday, Tommy.
Okay, I'll see you later, lads. Thanks.
Oh, well, as soon as them, you could see it happening. I said to Glenn and Rafi, my mates, I says, we need another goal, you know. I says, we desperately need another goal. And Forest weren't playing that well. They were playing okay, but you just sensed it, you know. They scored and I didn't turn around. I just says, I'm away. And I just went straight out the ground, straight home, you know. That was the gut-wrencher.
When you see them just slipping in Middlesbrough, you know, everyone else, West Ham, are clawing their way back out. And when you throw away a 3 points like that, you know, well, 2 points, you just can't believe it. It's just so unfair, you know. You've been robbed, really, I think.
They were now only 3 points away from the dreaded relegation zone. How quickly can fortunes change? Where once there was a crush to buy season tickets, the club was now deserted.
Famous names have been greeted by the infamous Broker Raw. How fitting that Sunderland's final season at Broker Park will be back where we belong, the top flight of English football. As First Division champions, we've moved into the Premiership, and now we're getting ready to move again, this time to a magnificent new home.
Unfortunately, 1 or 2 results haven't gone our way over the last couple of months, and we've slipped, so it does put the pressure on, and I can understand how the fans feel. You know, we feel the same. I mean, we're unique as a board that we're all Sunderland supporters. Now, that might sound stupid, but you look around a lot of Premier League boards, and these are guys that are either on some sort of, they want a bit of an ego trip just to say that they're a football fan, and there may be a football director, and they may be on the board of a club that, you know, they've got no affinity with.
I mean, the board put £2 million in towards the stadium because it was felt by the financiers
that it was necessary for us to show our colours, our commitment, our enthusiasm, the seed corn for the development. By lots of people from the Development Corporation, right through everybody, it was felt necessary to do that. And we've all done that quite willingly. It's our own decisions with big lads. But what in life would you do if you didn't do this? You know, I mean, business is a great challenge and it's very enjoyable. And you're not hung out every Saturday and drawn in and quartered and that. But I mean, it's character building.
Neither you nor Bob get paid.
No.
Why do you do it then?
Well, I look at it as a bit of an honour, actually. I mean, I know it might sound a bit pompous, but at the end of the day, it's like me. If we win, I'm happy, and it's great to watch everybody else going home, smiles on their faces, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? And we're all happy till the next game, then, aren't we? You know, but at the moment we've been a little bit down, but that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Bob and John may not get paid, but of course they do stand to make millions from the shares if the club is successful. Although they couldn't really affect what happened on the field, there was still plenty to do at the new stadium.
In many ways, they've been quite fortunate. We haven't had too bad a winter, really. I mean, they've lost a number of days for high wind, but in general, we haven't been under 2 foot of snow for 2 weeks. It's been very, very lucky from that point of view. We've got the bit lighter nights now, and you can see there's 1 or 2 guys who now, you know, they work until 6, 7 o'clock, and it's amazing how stuff is really coming together. I mean, the bowl it's as near as damn it finished. You know, they're well on the way with that. What we're doing at this moment is fine-tuning the interior layouts and the details, so that we know exactly where we're going.
The amount of thought that's gone into it has been fabulous. It's had everything from its materials to its size to its logistics, its practicalities all worked out. And we thought we wouldn't be doing justice to anything unless we explored all possibilities, and whilst our home and away dressing room is the same size, true, John?
Yeah.
We've got the same number of pegs, baths and whatever, footage. We thought, having visited a number of grounds, like Ajax and Holland being one, we've noticed their decor and things like that. Do you want to carry on, Graham?
We want to get colour schemes within the dressing room which are pleasing, you know, to certainly the home side. Yes. And maybe not so pleasing.
Or appropriate to the job in hand, basically.
Absolutely.
That's basically why you're here, you know, whether we should be...
Think about the environment.
The environment and colour finishes, basically.
I was thinking that the mood that you want is always of confidence and of lightness and of brightness and of optimism. Yeah. And to do that...
Only in the home dressing room.
Exactly.
Switch the lights off in the away dressing room. We're doing the total opposite in the away.
I have some good ideas about the opposing dressing room, yes. So you're going to look for light, bright colours and the kinds of tones of the outside. And you would steer away from, I think, the colours that denote danger and anger. Because although you want people to go out and play aggressively, it's really assertiveness rather than aggressiveness that you want out there.
You don't want fear in there. You don't want fear in there.
No, so you want to move away from colours like red. I'm sorry. Think about the colours in nature that are the warning colours, because this is what I was going to say about the opposing team's dressing room. I had a doctor once who, when he redecorated his surgery, he had this horrible yellow line that went around, you know, as a dado, with the black line down the middle. And I said, what on earth have you got that in there? He said, so people don't stay too long. It's the colours of danger in nature. People will move away from that. For instance, for the away team, their dressing room, if you've got cushions or if you're putting soft furnishings in, you could have some really good cushions, couldn't you, that look like little wasps with black and yellow zigzag pattern, you know.
You know, we spend what's needed.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And we can ring you up every Saturday.
Right.
It'd be your fault from now.
Change the colours.
That's fine.
We're going to have a change of
My
colour.
shoulders are
We
broad.
better have a bit more black in their dressing room. Or red or something.
Well, yes.
A few more wasps. It's deadline day, whereby players can be registered for a football club to play for the remainder part of the season. It's the day when you wake up and you think it's going to be busy, and you always say to the wife, "Don't expect me home early," and that is the conversation that I had this morning, kind of thing, in the hope that we are going to be doing something, but it hasn't happened today.
I don't think I was really cautious. If some of the players that I'd have gone for had been available, I'd have spent 3 or 4 million. It wouldn't have bothered me. But the players I wanted weren't there or weren't available. I mean, I can't come on camera now and name who the players were, but I've asked managers about what I consider top players, and they've said, "No, Pete, they're not for sale." What if they give you that? They're not for sale. Like, there's a couple of my players who clubs have been in for, and I said, "No, not for sale." End of story.
Peter's always said that he will only bring the right players in. My own view is that there's probably an element of even some players might consider, well, we'll wait and see if Sunderland get through this difficult season. I'm not going to come to Sunderland and find that they'll suddenly end off in Division 1. There could well be an element of that.
And so the transfer deadline came and went. Over the season, Peter had only bought 1 or 2 new squad players, but it was no good dwelling on what might have been. This was the team that was to keep Sunderland in the Premier League, and the next game was one of the most important of the season. An away derby with local rivals Newcastle United. For some time now, Sunderland has lived in the shadow of neighbouring city Newcastle, and sadly this season was no different. While Sunderland was struggling at the bottom end of the league, Newcastle were challenging for a coveted place in Europe.
We're bigger than Newcastle as a population-wise, but not a lot of people know that. You go on holiday, people say, "Where are you from?" You've got to say, "Sunderland." Where's that? 12 miles from Newcastle. It hurts a lot.
The rivalry has always been there. If you look at the record books and go back years and years and years, there's always been a rivalry. I think it got worse when Sunderland got relegated to the 3rd Division, and you had 200 Newcastle fans came in the paddocks and supported Gillingham, The police, in their better wisdom, left them in the ground to jeer us, and from that day, I think, it markedly went downhill, where now, I can't really say good things about Newcastle because I didn't like them.
I like the northeastern clubs to do well, but you always feel a little resentment when they're doing well and Sunderland aren't. And I guess deep down, if Sunderland have lost, you want Newcastle to lose, because you want the other teams to do well, but you always want your team to be doing the best of them all.
Hostilities had reached such a peak between the two teams that earlier in the season, fearing a mass battle, the police refused to attend the fixture at Roker Park unless Newcastle supporters were banned from the ground. But at the last minute, this decision was overruled. Nevertheless, Newcastle still declined Sunderland's offer of tickets. So when it came to Newcastle's turn, as if in spite, they refused to allow Sunderland supporters into St James's Park. The fans had to make do with a giant TV screen back at Roker. The game sold out days ago, but hundreds of fans still turned up on the morning hoping to buy tickets.
I can do without this man at the moment. Well, it's a lockout because we're sold out, but we're moving sponsors from in the stand into the director's box to get the tickets so we can sell them to try and satisfy some of these people. There is maybe 200 that have come down wanting to watch this, and we're sold out.
That's incredible, isn't
Isn't
it?
it? But,
Was it in the paper or something?
well, somebody's telling me it was in the Echo last night. You could pay on the turnstiles on the day. Metro's still pushing it out. There's tickets available. Who's giving that? Well, your guess is as good as mine. But all we're doing is picking up the end product there.
Find out what you want.
It's been a nightmare. You've got the journal to blame because they said you were paying the turnstile at 2 o'clock today.
Ah, that's just
one adult and one child, please.
One adult, one child, please.
I mean, even though I've predicted a Sunderland victory, I'll still stick by that result. You know, a surprise win, a very big surprise win for Sunderland, 1-0. A draw today, anything would be tremendous. We'll be out all night getting stoned if we draw today. It'd be a fantastic result.
I despise them. I always have done.
He never goes drinking there, so he's already can say that.
No, it runs a lot deeper than football for me. Actually, you could go into politics, which I don't want to talk about today. You know, the Tyne-Wear situation. You know, paid for the metro, paid for Eldon Square, and this, that, the other. You know, and this town has, well, city now has just become an absolute dump, whilst Newcastle's flourished really, and a lot of it's down to the Sunderland taxpayers' money, you know. So it's not just a football issue as far as I'm concerned. But I do actually lose sleep leading up to matches like this, you know, because I despise them that much.
In all the years I've been going to Roker Park, I've been going since the 60s, Newcastle have never won a domestic trophy. We have, they haven't. I think at the end of the day, all we want is a football club that can match them, where we can turn around and be proud of the club and say, right, you know, we've got a chance of winning things. That's all we're asking of this lot. Hopefully, it's in there with a new stadium and the money for this to take place, but transfer deadline day passed without a big signing, didn't it?
Football is a tribal thing at the best of times, but if Newcastle beat Sunderland, they would send them crashing down into the relegation zone, a thought that was just too much to bear, especially for player Lee Howie, whose brother played for Newcastle.
It's a bit difficult for me. I like to say how Stephen do it well, but yeah, I don't like Newcastle. I've been a Sunderland supporter. I must admit, if I says I like to see the North East teams do well, I think I would be lying. Apart from Sunderland, as long as Sunderland's doing well, I wouldn't care. Like.
Bit of Holy Ghost here, mate, please. Bit of toast on there.
It's going to be awkward. We'll have nowhere to celebrate. We'll just have to run to the lads when we score a goal. There's nowhere to run to in the crowd. But I think we'll all have to run down the tunnel to be safe.
I remember going when I was fairly young to St James's and just seeing like the violence really at times and the hatred, and when you get in the ground it's just sheer rivalry, you know, and not one of them wants to lose the match in it, and it just goes on throughout the year.
I've got my lucky socks on.
I'll press them, John.
There you go. How much did you? Can you hear that? Yeah.
That's quality, that
That's good, isn't it?
You want to see his underdogs?
Yeah, that's right.
What does that flag?
Yeah. I'll bet me backside on the way out, yeah. I'll do that at 4:45.
Hi, chaps. All right. How you doing? Good win today, please. I will have a go. It'll be fine for us. Do us well.
I don't care what you say. There's always the Sunderland Newcastle games are always a bit special, and we've got Chrissy Waddle going back to Newcastle, where he spent, I think it was about 3 or 4 very good seasons for him up there. So I'm sure he'll get an interesting reception. I don't know what that will be, but I'm sure it'll be interesting.
I played in Tottenham Arsenal. That is a lot of hatred. I think because Tottenham Arsenal are very close and in the same sort of area. Sheffield Derby, I've played in that. But again, it's in the same, so very close to each other. Where these have got that distance, which makes it 2 cities, and I think that's why it's more of a derby game.
Saturday, I'm going to St James's. I've managed to get my hands on a ticket. I think the ticket is for a decent part of the ground where they're probably, you're not going to have all the young elements sort of thing.
I'm actually going to be in the director's box at the Newcastle match. My boyfriend's parents both have tickets for the director's box and they're away that weekend, so I've got the ticket.
My brother's got 2 tickets for the game, believe it or not, which is annoying because he's not a staunch Sunderland fan like me, but obviously through business one of his suppliers has offered him 2 tickets, and he won't be taking me because he can't trust us to keep my mouth quiet. Because he knows for a fact if we score, I'll jump up and down. So he's taken his 6-year-old son instead because he is a Newcastle fan. So I have to go to Roker Park and watch it on the big screen.
If Sunderland score a goal and I've got to sit there and be quiet, it's going to be so hard. I don't think I'll be able to do it. I really think I'll jump up. But I'm going to have to stay quiet. And then if Newcastle score and I've got to stand up and applaud, that is just going to be awful. I just can't bring myself to do it.
It's going to be difficult, isn't it? If Sunderland score, you know, I'm not a complete idiot. I'm not going to start and jump up and down, you know, and then cop it. But I'll be quietly smug. I'll possibly do what them do when they put their head in the hands to cry, but I'll be laughing and laughing loud.
But I know for a fact once I got there, you've got absolutely no chance of me keeping quiet. And I think I'd be coming out in a body bag.
How do you feel before a game like this, close to kick-off? Looking forward to it?
Boots on, but them days are gone. But yeah, I mean, this is what you're in football for, and it's a massive game for both clubs. And like I say, we're desperate for the 3 points.
Great shame there's no Sunderland fans here. I think they could have done the whole game, but maybe if the 6,000 at Roker really get behind you, you'll possibly hear them.
Well, our supporters are a different class, and we just hope that we put on a show for you today.
Thanks very much. Best of luck. We'll bring you all the full team news in a few minutes' time, but I hope you enjoy the game then.
Obviously, it'd be nice to have the fans there. They should be there. It's a disgrace, you know, the way things are between Sunderland and Newcastle is wrong. You know, in every sense of the word, it's wrong. And it's got to be put right one way or another. They've got to get together and say, now look, you know, this has got to stop. Yeah, definitely offside. Definitely offside, isn't it? Yeah.
Knocked it out wide. Back into the middle.
Come on, Sunderland. That'll do us. Brilliant. That'll do us. Offside goal. Offside goal. Never mind. We'll settle for a point.
A draw meant that pride was intact and Sunderland had edged one place up. You need nerves of steel to be a Sunderland supporter.
Premier Passions kicks off next week on BBC One at 10:30.